warm welcome to Global Morning on Global Television, where we bring you amazing breakfast, desserts, food, everything but in the world of news and current affairs. Welcome, I am Anita Patrick, and of course, as always, I don't do this alone. I have my co-anchor with me in the studio in person of Mutar Kase.
Beautiful morning to you, Anita Patrick.
Okay.
Good morning to our viewers. It's another beautiful day, the weekend. As every weekend, we're always here to spice up our audience this day, make sure they have a good time while watching global television. And today is going to be no different from every other Saturday and Sunday.
Of course. And of course, I like the fact that your cap has a touch of gold that matches.
Yeah, so maybe we're flying it, who knows? It's a weekend, maybe there's a wedding that we can attend afterwards.
Like a reception that we need to do the after party,
Exactly.
because we need to relax a bit.
Because it's the weekend. Weekends are for relaxations, and of course we like to relax.
Okay, and a wine, and get, even if it's a glass of wine, just let it down.
Let's sit around.
Well, amazing a program for us lined up, a whole lot of things lined up for you to also enjoy what we have for you. Of course, like we always do, we have the newspaper review segment. We also have the
Taste and texture, we bring to you breakfast that you like to enjoy.
Of course, as a foodie, you will bring that part of.
You obviously know. And of course, we've got discussion segments that will bring to you topical issues as it concerns our society and politics and all of that.
It's a season of elections, electionary year, the build up to 2027, and a whole lot of issues, concerns being raised by Nigerians and even the politicians that themselves who are going to participate actively in the process. As part of the discussions, we'll also, of course, bring to our audience in details. Well, a whole lot, like we said, lined up for you. But let's quickly get started with the day with our newspaper review segment, where we have a lot of stories making the rounds on the front page cover of the dailies. Please stay with us as we start off with that. And of course, welcome back to the segments of the newspaper review segment. We have a lot of people lined up. We have the New Telegraph newspaper, we have Leadership, The Punch, The Nation, Vanguard, Daily Independent, and of course, the likes of the others. But let's quickly start our day with what the paper of Sunday Telegraph has for us today. Sunday Telegraph newspaper has its lead cover story with the issue around the insecurity we always talk about on a daily. This insecurity issue here, it says ISIS, and then ISIS global second leader killed in Nigeria-US collaboration. And that story has a ride as well. It says Trump Tinubu Hill joint operation, and it also says reported deaths in 2024, mistaken identity. That's the presidency speaking there. We also have where it says 17 policemen in training murdered by terrorists as Jonathan the Christ death. All of this is contained on page 3 and 4 of the Sunday Telegraph newspaper.
And of course, other stories making rounds above the nameplate by the left-hand corner. You'll see a story that says APC primaries, Abbas Kalu, Elumelu, Obasa, Buhari's son, others pick ticket, with a rider that says controversies trail exercise in state. And details of this particular story you find
the paper there above the masthead down the right hand side. There it says same fate ticket not desirable in 2027. That's Niger Khan vice chair speaking tough there ahead of 2027 general election. That story is on page 14 and 19 of the Sunday Telegraph newspaper.
And looking at the big story, which is below the story in the middle, it says 2027 as the kicker. Why split votes may cost South presidency. Writers here say Tinubu, Obi, Makinde to share votes. Atiku picking ADC tickets, dangerous, says PDP chieftain. And the last writer says North, battleground, if Amechi wins primaries. And all of the stories you find on page 2 of the Sunday Telegraph newspaper.
Well, there's a whole lot with the build-up to 2027 general election. For no, we earlier talked about this before it got really disclosed. The primaries, there was going to be a lot of permutations, drama, realignments, and
people,
you know,
agree to disagree. Someone said I won fair and square. And people that we
and then for those that defected as well,
Of
coming
course.
into a new space and having to find their way and have a balance in the party structure.
Of course, with the fact that the other people already in ground before they merged into the party, so it was a lot of them back and forth. But people have emerged, and of course, we know in a democracy there's always going to be winners and losers. And the people who have not won could take their grievances to the appropriate authorities and get justice done for them.
And get to the judiciary, and then we get that again.
But then, of course, one thing is certain, like I told them, you're not always going to be a winner. It is certain that you either have a winner or
someone
loser.
has to win. It's just like the world of sports.
Exactly, you have a winner or loser, but the most important thing is the sportsmanship spirit. And of course, if you are a party member and someone else has emerged, if that is the choice of the party, what you should do as a very loyal or a good party member, for me, as a good team player, is to support that person
And
to ensure that you deliver the ticket for your party.
And that's if you're loyal to the party.
Exactly.
It's about the party's
So
and the nation's interest.
That will ask the loyalty where you're pledging your loyalty. Is it to the party or to your own self? Exactly.
All right, still sticking to the stories. Let's also tell you all the stories still on the front page cover of the Sunday Telegraph. There we have beside the story Mutar just took there on 2027 with the writer with the lead story there. It says mass defection looms in Imo Labour Party. That story is on page 30 as well. Of course, we talked about the alignments and realignments.
Of course, we know that Labour Party with Peter
that follows the individual, no longer
of
the
course,
party.
which is what we've seen happen in a lot of time in our democracy. Away from that particular story, you find details on page 30. Just below that story, you see a story here that says PPP issues new guidelines on contract variation. Details you find on page 3 of the Sunday Telegraph newspaper.
Okay, so below that we have the Sultan speaking there. It says, look out for new moon. Sultan tells Muslims. That story is on page 4.
Of course. It's an exciting time for Muslims because we're entering the period where we have the Eid, the big Eid, where the ram is slaughtered and all of that.
And we're waiting for you.
So the new moon is maybe recited on, it's envisaged on Monday, which is tomorrow, might be the first of the new month. So yes, fingers crossed for Salah.
Okay, I'm waiting for the Salah meet as well, but let's move away from that.
Yes, the last story for review, it says 5 dead, many injured in Abuja building collapse. And it's a sad one. Details you find on page 5 of the Sunday Telegraph.
You know, interesting, Mukhtar. That story yesterday when it broke out yesterday. Someone was telling me I was on transit and he said, "Are you aware that the building collapsed and 50 persons died?" I said, "How verifiable is your story?
50.
How can you say 50? They were all sleeping and the building just collapsed." And I'm like, that's how you create chaos.
Exactly.
You know, so are you sure? It can never be 50, obviously, because people would have heard sounds, you know, somehow people would have roamed out, and they can't all be trapped in the wrong
at the same time. Everybody is going to be
out. At least there should be injuries, you know, not getting to the
case. That's one thing that even tells us is why it is really important before you spread that information out there, why you have to verify. It is something that is very pertinent, and it's something that we tend to take for granted in this climate, where you see people send you WhatsApp messages, you just forward as received. That's a very wrong mode of communication. It is very important that you verify what you spread, because you could cause chaos, you could cause panic,
and then it's thing of national interest, where the stakes to paper has its own lead story, and it starts with the National Assembly primaries and the rerun as well. It says, the lead story says 20 National Assembly lawmakers shun rerun election. We have that story there for the leadership weekend story there, where it talks about the rerun for the
National
leadership.
Assembly.
Yes.
And the writer says experts say the effect will be felt most strongly in critical National Assembly committees. That is, Anita, you're one who covers the National Assembly, and you know the importance of having experienced hands in those committees, because we see that they start to move motions and make laws, and then if they don't come back, what happens to those bills and those committees? But we see that 20 of them might not have said they're not going to get re-elected, and we can see some very experienced hands and faces in that particular picture. So that tells us what happens.
Yeah, looking at lawmakers there, you have the minority leader of the House there. We also have strong members from the Senate as well, who are major
stakeholders,
not even first timers or second timers. You know, they've done amazing job in terms of legislation, making the laws and ensuring that Nigerians get the best of what's called motions and bills, and also getting it to even be passed into law. And like I always speak about the legislative process, it's actually a very sensitive part of government or governance rather, where people feel is. When I started covering the House or covering the National Assembly, basically, it was a whole new experience for me from the daily news reportage and all that, because I had to learn the proceedings. It's a whole different process, you know. It's just like going to the judiciary as well. They have their terminology, their jargons, you know. So you need to understand how it works, so that when you're speaking with facts, you're speaking with someone from an informed perspective. And for leadership, I know it seems very funny where people say, why would we have lawmakers take that length of time? But this knowledge needs to be transferred. You know, you don't just bring people who into the legislative system and don't understand what policy making is, because at some point they will come in and they need to be tutored afresh. Because don't forget that when each assembly is sworn in or brought into that year or that assembly, there's always training. Training from the clerks to ensure that they understand what policy making or what's it called lawmaking process is really about. So for me, if these lawmakers don't get a rerun, we'll have shortfall of experience in the House and a chaotic system.
That's one aspect. And other people will say, okay, fine, these people that you say are disexperienced, they only got experience because they had an opportunity. So if you don't give other people opportunity, how will they get that experience?
For others to come, like I said, it needs to be transferred. For instance, this is me thinking in my those ones can move and transfer the knowledge, because like I always tell those who want to come in, you need to have a mentor.
Of course,
in wherever you're going into politics. So you understand the process, the ropes. You don't just jump, just like a child saying the child is born today and next the child
will start working.
It's not possible. Even if time you move that knowledge and pass that knowledge,
very important, because even while you're in the House, you don't serve only as a lawmaker to people. You also are, like you said, you transfer those knowledge to people who have emerged into the House, because one day you know you will not be there and those people will be there at the helms of affairs. So that's why it's really important.
And all the credits will still get back to you, of course, because you have done a good mentorship program for the person you're bringing in. So if they don't come back, fine, but I feel the new members who come in, if the National Assembly will take that from the National Assembly Commission, they can look into that, how they can bring these lawmakers who are leaving the system to come pass the knowledge down. And because at the committee level, that's what the job is. The committee level, you need to understand the lawmaking, the sections of the laws, all of those things. Science needs to guide the MDAs in delivering what they need to implement into the mandate. So basically, that has actually brought us to the lecture previously about that. But let's continue to tell you the stories making around the front page cover of the weekend, leadership weekend.
Let's go above that particular National Assembly story and tell you a story here that says Tinubu pursuing critical reforms avoided by past governments. That one of the ministers is speaking there, and you can find details of that story on page 3 of the Leadership Weekend newspaper. Let's go above the nameplate to the left-hand corner, and the story here says Senate rule changes ignites 2027 succession battle. And details you find on page 4 of the Weekend Leadership newspaper.
Okay, so we have stories also there where it talks about on the right hand page cover there where it says from governor ambition to prison. Okay, the rise and fall of Salah Maman, and that story is on page 24. Well, I read a story on the news where we talked about the Imo State Governor questioning to not see it as a do or die affair.
Exactly.
You know, it goes beyond just wanting to govern the people. It takes I will read up to get details, but it takes a whole lot of character,
of course,
because integrity, and so one needs to be very
because if you're a person who has been like he was Minister of Power under the Buhari administration, and those allegations, and I think they are beyond allegations because he's been found guilty by a competent court of jurisdiction, has been sentenced to a lengthy period. That shows you that people who are in government, what kind of people do we have in the system? Because if you want our system to get the desired change, like the power sector, that's a very critical sector which has suffered since Nigeria's inception, since independence. We've been suffering decades of power outage, and people like that who are in office and have not been indicted and convicted, and they are still seeking political office. That tells you the caliber of people that we have.
We won't look at those issues. We're going to drag forward. It's going to be a lengthy conversation.
Certainly.
So let's get to the stories that also made the front page cover of this Leadership Weekend story, and there below the National Assembly story on the weekend mask there, it says Tinubu pursuing critical reforms as well. Okay, we could see other stories.
There's that JAM story.
The JAM story that talks about the issue.
JAM begins institution, course change for UTME candidates. Details you find on page, I think, 4, and that's about our education system, and we know how critical that is to our national development. So for people who are writing those exams, we wish them all the best, and they should of course be the best they can be in the pursuit of their academic journey. And let's go below
the picture story.
Yes. And by the left hand corner you see a story that says Jigawa First Lady marries off 300 orphans, and details you find on page 7 of the Weekend Leadership newspaper. Another story here, by just beside that story, says 22 political parties submit registers to INEC. Page 7 is where you find details, and of course that's talking about all the nitty-gritty ahead of 2027. All the parties are trying to clean up their registers and make sure they meet up with the deadline.
They don't have a choice, because if you don't meet the INEC deadline, what are you coming out?
But this
is an interesting story. The right hand corner there, that story talks about the individual who's coming out from Kaduna there. His story has been very interesting for me.
Yes.
It says small structure, big ambition, the rise of Sadis Buba as questions over his age per March. Story on 24.
Well, I read that he's actually quits the ambition, which he said he has, after consultations with the other stakeholders, he's withdrawing his ambition. But he has been very audacious and very bold.
I like his boldness, because the thing is, we need people who have a focus, who know what the nation needs, who are sure that they can deliver. Hopefully, if he's withdrawn from there, just like you mentioned, let's hope that at the time his age aligns with the time frame, he would, of course, be an amazing
We've seen controversies about his age. We've seen where they said he's just 16
and he said he's 30. I saw the video clip at the screen.
But one thing, I watched an interview, and one thing that caught my attention was when they asked him, what message do you have to your critics? He said they should continue their job, which means he's not even listening. Yes, he's gone past the criticism. That's something we all can draw from his life, to see that you always have critics, but then rising above them and not giving them that energy is one thing that will keep you on the right course to your goals.
I always tell people the truth is, when you want to achieve something, your focus is actually in front of you. The moment you keep trying backwards, you can never move forward. So the thing is, let it go, do do what is right. As long as what you're doing is right, keep at it, and the sky will just be your starting. But I like his bonus. Seriously, I hope he comes back. I guess a lot of time come back to this whole trial to get into political office and get to lead the nation. Of course, let's also turn our focus and look at what the Sunday Sun newspaper, because that's all we have with that leadership weekend. Sunday Sun newspaper there starts with its own story around the primaries happening across parties, and the lead story here says crisis looms over APC's make or break primaries, and the writer there says fear of parallel exercise, litigation, violence in Rivers, Ogun, Kano, others as potential losers with options. And that story is contained on page 18 and 19, of course.
Sunday Sun newspaper. And of course, let's go below that story, and it says, insecurity, all eyes on Homeland Security Advisor, high expectations, skepticism over Farmadella's appointment. Of course, we've seen that appointment, and there's been making a lot of wagging tongues and all of that, but we hope to see results. It doesn't matter whatever controversy is there. What we need to see is results that take our security situation to the better place, and that's what we expect from the new advisor to the president on Homeland Security. And away from that story, let's go by the
left-hand side as well, where it has the story of an actress actually, but speaking a different dimension. It says, shuffling medical entertainment worlds helps my mental health. That's Kamsi Mwoko speaking, a medical doctor as well, and also an actress. Amazing. That's very tedious career path.
Honestly, it's actually strange seeing someone transition from medicine into artistry, but it's a very laudable one, and like she said, it's something that helps mental health, because what you see in the medical profession is not for the faint-hearted. You go into theater.
But let me you really like to see blood. That's
you know the answer to that question already. I don't like
a lot of people are usually. I saw a very funny clip. That's what I like to note, where someone was trying to get injected, like he was ill, and he full-grown matured adult, and he was and you had to see the drama. Before the video gets to him, he kept moving and adjusting. I'm like, hello, you're grown up. But you now see a trend. You now see the child who's still a baby putting out the hands or putting out the butt.
That shows the level of tenacity on the individual level is different.
Oh my God!
People like how you see the mental strain, like you said, of the medical profession. Yeah. So sometimes you need a bit of a relief.
Yeah, really something to just unwind and take your mind. I love that for her. Well done, seriously, Kamsi. That's actually a very bigger challenge or a task. I like the fact that she takes on that task, and of course, and she looks amazingly beautiful there in that photo. Let's go above the nameplate of the Sunday Sun newspaper and tell you the stories leading on that particular front there. On the particular right hand side there, it talks about 27 ahead of it. Rather, we'll see where it says SDP writes INEC submits Adebayo's details as presidential candidates. Story on page 26, of course.
Of course, another story just beside that one. It says presidency, ISWAP commander truly eliminated, with the writer that says FG dispels doubt over Al-Manuki's neutralization, and details you find on page 25 of the Sunday Sun newspaper. And another story here says how rustled cattle expose bandits at Kwara market. Details on page 7 of the Sunday Sun newspaper. And
then, of course, on the left-hand side, they're still talking about election. Since general election, Lagos PDP chieftain spits fire. And you're wondering why they're spitting fire, of course, is the build-up to 2027. Of course,
the writer says opposition ready to drag President INEC boss to ICC if polls results are compromised. That's an audacious claim from the president to the ICC, that's the International Court of Justice, ICJ, the International Court, that is. And that's about much of the stories we can take.
Yeah, that's the size of it with the Sunday Sun newspaper there. Let's quickly see if we have other stories lined up as well. Of course, we have This Day newspaper. This Day newspaper leads, of course, with its own story. And leads with, let's start with let's start with the Obi story, because we have this Trump-Tinubu story across all papers, and we've taken that. Let's take the story. It says, Obi queries benefits of Tinubu's foreign trips. Says Trump got billions of dollars deals from China. And of course, there's a writer that says, insists Nigeria's leadership should focus on productivity, not ceremony. Says diplomacy shouldn't be redirected or reduced to symbolic displays.
Well, that's.
You see, I'm holding my words, Mukhtar. He's getting into the race right.
Yes.
And I'm hoping he gets into office.
Well,
I'm hoping.
Criticizing
I'm hoping. I'm not judging. I'm just saying. I hope he gets into office, because the truth is, I tell people leadership is not easy. There's a whole lot.
Especially if you're from the outside perspective, it's just this.
There's a whole lot.
When you get into the office,
when you wear the shoes, you understand better. I'm not saying, I'm not defending, I'm not anybody's mouthpiece. I'm just saying, yes, we've seen a whole lot of this play out, but let's find a way of peddling. Let me not even.
Well, I would not be surprised, because Obi is in a position.
Yeah, of course. We expect the position to speak to issues.
Most definitely. And for the presidency, they've said that they travel all of these trips for the benefits of our nation. They talked about how they've struck many deals with many countries like the UK and all of the other countries the president has been to, and they said it's going to translate into FDI, that's foreign direct investment for Nigeria. So we hope to see that come into fruition, and it works for the betterment of all of us as Nigerians.
But let's look at that, because at the time I remember asking a lawmaker, I said, why do we keep borrowing if we get all these trips and we get the foreign exchange, foreign direct investment coming into the country? And they said, we need to, everybody borrows. That's responsible.
That's it. Borrowing for me has never been the problem, because even America, of course, America is the largest debtor nation in the world. They owe the World Bank billions of dollars. It's normal. But like you said, what are we using those finances for? Is it translating into making the average Nigerian's life better? That's the question, right? So borrowing should be one that actually benefits all of us, not just borrowing we can see on ground.
All right, so that's it with that story, and you can find a whole lot of those stories from the first page cover there, and it runs into page 5 of this.
Now let's go above the nameplate and see the smaller picture story here that says Speaker Abbas, Kalu, Elumelu, Buhari's son win APC primaries. House Majority Leaders Ibonvere loses, and that's on page 6 of the This Day newspaper. And if you look above that story, we see another story that says Yakubu defends rising debt, says critics exhibiting economic illiteracy insist deficit spending normal. Oh, quite interesting.
Okay. I just went back to the story on the primaries there earlier that you took. So the speaker has gotten back his seats in terms of primaries, actually.
Of course.
The speaker got it, and of course Elumelu is back. He's gotten back his ticket as well for the APC as well.
Yes, but
and then also have Buhari's son also winning the APC primaries, but the House Majority Leader has
lost his own primary election.
Like that shows what's happening. There's a whole lot of clamor to the fact that the deputy speaker wanted to be governor for Abia State, and people are saying, can he just stick to what he's doing? He's an amazing job, and we can plan for this. I'm excited to see that there's a balance across the party.
And that shows you that the people have spoken, and
they said stick to this, do this, because you see you've given us good representation.
And that's why, of course, and the person who lost, I'm not saying he didn't represent them well, but of course there must be a problem or two there, and that's why if you're in the National Assembly, you should take it as a call to service.
He's been one of the very old hands in the National Assembly, and he's done an amazing job. Trust me, rising to the state or the state or position of a house, that tells you his level of work, his knowledge base, and that's the kind of person we want to see transfer such knowledge.
Of course, that's why the people are saying, okay, you've really done well. Now let's give other people an opportunity to be that.
So let's see that pans out well. Let's look at other paper stories as well, and there it comes down to say the picture story. We've taken this actually across all papers. I don't want us to keep taking the same story, and then you have picture stories talking about the landmark Africa deal on the world stage and the investment drive. Well, that's it. Let's quickly turn our focus to the Sunday Tribune newspaper. Sunday Tribune newspaper has its own lead story there that talks about the presidency. This is a different dimension basically from what we had across. It says presidency in final moves to settle Shettima issue. Okay.
And the writer says Tinubu VP matters linked to Uzodinma PGF saga. And second writer says how moves may affect Fubara's second term chances.
And that's the PGF is talking about the Progressive Governors Forum saga with the governor of Imo State.
They were saying they wanted to remove him, but governors saying
well, okay with him, he's doing the party, he's doing an amazing job, and we're comfortable with him, the leader there of that particular forum there.
But then the bigger picture, if you look at it, is talking about the Shettima Tinubu saga. We've had
the ticketing thing
of course, people are saying the president might replace the vice president, and other people have come out to say it is a forced tale. And other people have said what brought you in the first place is the Muslim ticket, and if you're trying to do a change, it might not work in your favor. Other people are saying it's a nation that is very heterogeneous. We have got multi-religious and ethnicity, so we should have representation across board. So it's one that is quite interesting, and I look forward to seeing how it pans out.
You know, one of the interesting years, or what I like is the election nearing the year where we see a whole lot of things unfolding, and I'm looking forward to seeing what 2027 is going to bring in, just like we had in 2023. You know, a whole lot of it came out very different for me. Being covering the election and being in front, so it was. So I'm looking forward to seeing what 2027 will also bring to bear. But let's go above that story and the masthead there. It talks about on the right hand side, it says attack on Oyo schools, kidnappers trapped in National Park as security operatives close in on assailants. I like that. The fact that they're trapped there. So that thing you want to collect, you know, so then they said the kidnapper is now being kidnapped.
Or the bushmeat.
The bushmeat now.
So let's see how it goes.
I like this, and I hope they get
because these things, like you said, insecurity has been a worrisome situation, and we hope that with these people being trapped, and if they get them, they get to give us leads to other of the syndicates, and then we get to have a better security situation. But away from that particular story, by the left-hand corner, it says killings, insecurity now seen as normal in Nigeria. That is, former President Jonathan is lamenting. And the story, you find details on page 7 of the Sunday Tribune newspaper.
And of course, below the lead story there on the cover page, there it says ahead of general elections, stakeholders sound 2027 alarm to opposition parties. And the writer says they are walking same roads that led to their defeat in 2023. Experts speaking there, of course. And of course, beside the story about the collapsed building in Abuja here, it says 5 dead, 16 rescued in Abuja building collapse. You know, I spoke about this earlier. That's like 50 people. I'm like, you know, but it's good that we have the right story or narration to that.
Saying that there's a way of hope to see
that people survived
more than even people died. So
it's a good one as well. Of course, that story is on page 25 of the Sunday Tribune newspaper.
Let's go below that story and see a bit of business. It says our youth don't need handouts. Elumelu tells leaders at Africa Summit. Of course, we don't need handouts. We need the enabling environment that will allow our African youth who are immensely talented to bring to the front burner our talents that will lead to the development of our continent, Africa. And away from that story, in the middle it says SDP submits Adebayo's name to INEC as party's presidential candidate. Details you find on page 25 of the Sunday Tribune newspaper. Let's still continue on Sunday Tribune. It says, revealed by the left-hand corner, how Osun APC power sharing deal over Guba elections collapsed. Details you find on page 13 of the Sunday Tribune. It has a lot of political stories.
Yeah, Sunday Tribune has to just give us all dimension of politics on what's the build-up to 2027 general election. And of course, there we have where it says, intimidation, disqualification, rock APC reps primaries. And the writer there says APC majority leader, that's the one we were talking about earlier. You know, that's Professor Julius Nwubere lost in Edo. Abbas, that's the speaker, Tajin Abbas. We also have the Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, Obasa as well. Obasa is also a lawmaker there as well in the House. And Lumelu Boyiga Isiaka secured tickets. Sharafuddin Ali applauds peaceful process in Oyo, and that story is on page 4 and 5 of the Sunday Tribune newspaper. Well, a whole lot of stories where you need to pick up a copy and easily digest and see what it has for you, of course. A lot of story.
And that's about the size of do we have other stories?
Did we take up the Punch? We didn't look at the Punch.
Yes.
Okay, we're not Punch per se. I think that's the size of what we have basically from what we see there, of course. All the papers lined up, giving us all the build up to what you should pick up and also look at.
And it was a packed full paper.
Yes, it was. Across all sectors.
Across all of the stories, whether in politics, a bit of business, we had health stories also, and of course security. They all made the rounds, and I hope our audience will pick up the papers that they found most interesting.
Interesting, because I have a lot of interesting stories that one should get a copy. So take your time and read, and so that by the time one is throwing jabs at you or something, you know how to.
You know you're informed that you have the details. Nobody can tell you what it is not.
Of course. Thank you so much for being a part of the Newspaper Review segment. We brought you, of course, all the stories that you need to have. A quick one right now. We'll quickly take taste and texture of what breakfast should look like on a Sunday morning. Please stay with us.
Hello everyone and welcome to Taste and Texture. Today we are going to be preparing boiled plantain and egg sauce. For the boiled plantain, we'll be needing the following: ripe fresh plantain, knife and clean pot, water. Here is the process of preparing boiled plantain. Wash and cut or dice your fresh ripe plantain into few pieces. In a clean pot, add your diced and washed ripe plantains. Add water, salt and cover to cook for a few minutes. Drop and drain the water, and then after a few minutes, peel the boiled plantain and set aside. For the egg sauce, we will be needing a few fresh pieces of raw eggs. In a clean bowl, break your raw eggs and whisk. Get your clean frying pan and add oil to fry. Add your pepper, mix, and stir for a few minutes. Then add Maggi and other seasoning of your choice. Then stir and add corned beef. Optional. Also stir your already whisked eggs, and finally add parsley and stir it. Our boiled plantain and egg sauce is ready. That's it on this episode of the show. I hope you will try this recipe at home. Join me again on Taste and Texture next time. I am Sadia Yakubu. See you again.
And of course, you see what it looks like to have for breakfast. If you had such plantain, see how beautiful that plantain was. I kept telling Mutara, this is my favorite. I can't wait to just sit down and munch on that particular delicious meal prepared by our beautiful chef there that brought us and walked us through the process of making it, of course. Mutara, still Mutara is smiling because he's a foodie.
I'm not even smiling. I'm also salivating.
You're salivating because you can't wait to lay your hands on that food and do magic.
Plantain and I love egg sauce, and of course that combination is one that is
heavenly.
I think heavenly. That's the word. Just took it right out of my mouth. That's the word, and it's one that you can never get wrong.
No, you don't get tired.
I don't think anyone can get either frying or boiling plantain wrong. It's something that's very easy for anyone to prepare, and then this egg sauce, of course, is also not difficult. So if you have those combinations, and then you have a hot cup of coffee or tea,
or cappuccino,
and you're taking me to dreamland already. Honestly,
Mutara likes the staycation thing, and then he likes it very cozy. Very light.
Like in this studio. That's what I'll be doing. I'll be lounging on my couch.
Dragged him out of this.
Lounging on my couch and having my breakfast.
No, but that's an amazing breakfast to start up.
Certainly is.
This is a new week as a good way to relax, like we said, unwind and start the day with such a beautiful breakfast. Of course, if you can watch something to get off the stress of
if you've had a long, the week has been going long. So that's why.
And since we're into a new week,
exactly,
to prepare yourself mentally
for the week ahead, because it's going to be, it always is
always taxful. But amazing breakfast there that you should try. Trust me. And if you have some veggies, it's a way of spicing them as well. That's my own concept.
Yeah, I like veggies.
Veggies
I like
in your egg sauce.
Yes, of course. The carrots.
And if you have the protein, throw in a bit of fish there. I'm giving you something to
giving me inspiration
and what to do. Don't stay close to me because you're going to put on a lot of weight.
Well, if you do that, I'm going to pull and have that. You're going to make it and then you have a taste of it.
I'm telling you, so that's a beautiful breakfast to have. Try it, and of course, for you who's in church, who's in the mosque, wherever you are, when you get back home, that's a beautiful breakfast. But for you at home watching right now, we've given you a heads up. If you were thinking, what can I do for breakfast? That's just the best thing, best thing to do. Quickly just get your plantains, chop it in right portions the way you like it, and boil if possible, or you want to fry, you fry.
Plantain fry, even the boil is, it may be much more nutritious because it doesn't have oily fat and all of that. But I think I preferred mine fried actually.
Okay, but I prefer more of the unripe. The unripe gives you that.
It's like potato and chips.
It gives you all the vibes of trying something nice. I like to try a lot of food stuff, so if you want to try it with me, pay attention and then come close.
We're going to be taking notes in the process.
In the process of it. Well, that's what we have for you for breakfast, and of course a whole lot of line of, we still have a discussion segments that will come to. But quickly, while we always bring you food, we also want you to stay healthy, like we always do, Mukhtar and I. We want you to also understand that a healthy meal and also a healthy body fit is a good step in the right direction to start your way and shake it off for a whole lot of things and look as beautiful and handsome as we look sitting in front of your screen.
In shape, of course. Very important.
So we keep in shape, we check ourselves and all that, and we want you to be part of it, of course. And that's why we're bringing you this particular aerobics that you should try at your own time. Thank you. Watch it.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
for the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Quality doesn't start on the shelf. It starts at the factory. At Aerogym Gam.
At Wichtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Wichtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Wichtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
At Aerogym Shoe Factory, excellence starts from the ground up. Located at number 1 Pound Road behind Nigeria Correctional Service, Aba, Abia State. We produce 1,500 high-quality shoes every single day. Paramilitary shoes, safety boots, desert boots, ankle shoes, back-to-school footwear. All crafted with state-of-the-art equipment and built for strength, comfort, and durability. For reliable footwear that stands the test of time, choose Aerogym shoes for better product, strong steps, smart style. For inquiries, call 091-264-53399 or 070-3009-3944 or 080-6573-8374 or call 081-3167-3668. Email info@aerogym.com. Website www.aerogymdesign.com. Aerogym. Walk with confidence. Walk with pride.